Hope you guys are doing good. What's up? Ricky Raccoon, Johnny Cologne, out on Instagram, Alan Darnell, Akshat, Matt DBCI, Kermit Dreamer. Happy to see you guys. You can hit me up in the chat. If you are on social, just bang on that. Give me a number one if you like what we're doing. This is the podcast where we explore the journey from no one to number one. Hope you guys are good today, man. It is Monday. Let us crush it today. Grab life by the freaking windpipe and crush it. Let's go. What's up, Johnny Cologne? Got a number one. What's up, Antarctic? Happy to see you guys. Like I say, you guys can communicate with me in the chat. Sabino 2.0. What's up, man? I'm Elvis. It's my first podcast. You have a nice title. Thanks, bro. Yeah, I love my branding, number one. Super excited about it. So today, I want to talk to you about how to crush your sales goals and dominate the market. How do you crush your sales goals and dominate the market? So in this 15 minutes, just 15 minutes, you are going to learn the secrets of top sales guys, a guy like Greg Cardone, and how to apply them to your own business so that you can achieve massive success. Sound good? What's up, Douglas Taylor? What's up, Coach Gill, Roland Isaiah? And we got everybody jumping in here. Happy to see you guys today. Hope you guys are killing it. So how do you crush your sales goals? How do you dominate a market? Right? You don't even want to compete. You want to dominate. So how do you do that, right? So the very first thing that you've got to do, you've got to learn to do this. You've got to start setting big, audacious goals, ridiculous goals, 10x goals, right? Too many people play it safe. They set small goals, achievable targets, and your targets should be achievable. But the truth is, only big goals are going to get big results. You feel me? Or Crizo, Justin, Irkowevet. Man, some of you guys got crazy handles that I cannot pronounce. I'm trying my best. So let's talk about these goals, man. You got to set big goals. I tell you guys this all the time. How do you know if a goal is big enough? How do you know? Hit me up in the chat. What do you say? How do you know if a goal is big enough? You guys got any opinions? I could tell you my way, the way I test if a goal is big enough. If I am embarrassed to share the goal with my friends, my family, the world, because it is so big, it makes me nervous. That tells you you're in the right ballpark. Big. Like, what is your goal for income? How much do you want to make in a year? Are you average? Are you going to just pick $60,000 or whatever the average income is today? Does that make you have the bubble guts at all? Probably not. What if you 10x that? What if you said publicly, 2023, my goal is to make $600,000, 10 times 60,000. Would you be a little embarrassed to say that? Well, that's telling me that you are in the right ballpark. Now, the importance of setting them big, audacious goals, big, hairy, audacious goals, as they're called, is because you have to think big. Have you ever heard this phrase, aim for the stars, hit the moon? Look, you may hit your goal. You may hit 600,000 in a year. But guess what? What if you only hit 120,000? You still doubled the 60,000 that you were aiming for at the beginning. It's a no-brainer. So set big goals. If you're doing athletics, if you're doing a grappling competition, aim to be number one. If you're a wrestler, try to win state. If you're already winning state, try to win nationals. If you're winning nationals, try to win worlds and then the Olympics. Big goals. All right. So that's the number one thing. First thing, you got to have huge goals, big targets that you're aiming for. All right. The second thing you've got to do is, man, you've got to be able to develop a laser-like focus. It's crucial, man. We live in a world of insane amount of distraction. What's up, Wayne? Wayne says, dude, you're everywhere. I am. I'm omnipresent, my friend. Stellar Steven giving me a number one. We're out on you. These are my YouTubers jumping in now. Happy to see you guys. So focus is absolutely crucial, man. You got to eliminate distractions. How do you do that? I have apps that I use that help me focus. They are like time boxing apps and task apps that tell me, hey, man, you got to focus here, turn off all distractions. I set myself up to win. I stack it, right? So I want you to be able to stay focused. You're going to have to learn to develop. Focus is like a muscle. You've got to learn how to develop it over time. You know, right now we're trained, our attention span, if you're on TikTok or Reels or YouTube Shorts, your attention span is being trained for 7 to 15-second intervals, man. Some of these problems, if you want to really make a lot of money and crush your sales goals, your income goals, the amount of money you make, and dominate wherever you're at, whether it's in a job or you're selling something, a service or a product, you've got to learn to focus because these problems are going to take sustained focus. Does that make sense? So I need you to be able to stay on track, get all your stuff done, and nail it. No matter what distractions, obstacles, problems, you've got to have laser-like focus, okay? So number 3, you've got to master the art of communication. How can you speak in such a way that it is clear, it is persuasive, it is powerful? That is the skill to close more deals, especially if you've got big, high-ticket deals. You've got to learn to be able to communicate. And, you know, one of the things, if you're going to learn how to communicate, what's up, Michael Ochoa? One of the things, if you're going to learn to communicate properly, you've got to also know your product better than anybody else. So, for example, you guys all know that I know Catch as Catch Can better than anybody else. That's why I'm able to create this movement, get people invested in what we're doing, because I know it. I know the technique. I know the history. I know the players. Now, that's not just in the grappling world, right? Like you could be, I also sell business development training, leadership training, sales and marketing training. I spend an hour a day now on Cardone University training. There's like 8,000 videos, man. I mean, it's like so huge, the amount of work. I mean, Grant is truly prolific. But I spend an hour in there trying to absorb the wisdom that this billionaire and sales genius is sharing. That makes me more persuasive so I can solve problems when people have them. Does that make sense? Now, okay, so the first thing, set big goals. Second thing, you've got to learn to focus and not get distracted by things. Third, you got to really jack up your communication, your persuasive game, your product knowledge game. Okay, and the last thing is, and this goes back to me being coached even by a guy like Billy Robinson. You've got to learn how to learn. You need to be constantly learning, absorbing, adapting, improvising to the environment. The market is constantly changing. It is volatile, right? So whatever it takes for you to stay up to date on all the latest trends, the latest techniques, whatever it takes for you to evolve, adapt, improve. Does that make sense? Okay, so if you want to be ready to boost up your income, and that is done through selling things, and even if it is not money, you still, like, you want to go out for pizza and your girlfriend wants hamburgers. And if you really want that pizza more than the hamburgers, you're sick of them, you've had them 5 days in a row, and now you want pizza. You've got to up your persuade. Everything's a sale. Getting a date, you've got to persuade. You've got to set high targets. Don't go for losers. Get the best. You see, sales is a way of life. It's not just about money or anything like that, but it also is. This is a number one crucial skill that you need to develop. So if you want to crush your ability to sell, you want to crush your ability to dominate a market, no matter what it is, you're going to need to set crazy big goals, 10x goals. You're going to need to really develop your sense of purpose and focus and being able to not be distracted. You're going to learn how to amplify your communication skills. And you've got to always be growing and learning, right? So that's what it takes, man. Do that. You're going to have the most actionable, practical skill set on planet Earth, man. That's the beginning, the base, all right? So now I'm going to open this up, as I always do. I'm going to give you guys about 10 minutes of questions and whatnot. Let's see here. Wayne. Dude, Fish, what's up, brother? I hope to be at one of your seminars in SoCal soon. My students are not happy. Thank you for everything you've done over the years. Thank you so much, Wayne, dude. You're a great guy, man. Can't wait to, I don't think we've ever actually met in person. I've known you, man, it has to be 20 years. I've known you since I had the forum on MMA.tv, which was like 2003 or 2002. The Catch Wrestling Forum. I had the first one. Kirik Jenis gave me that task. I think it was the first and only one. I think I ran it for a while, and then I got sick of the flamers and all that nonsense and bailed, and then it just died. But yeah, love to see you, Fish. All right, guys. So what can I do for you? We've got so many great opportunities for you guys to learn, up your game, get sick intense. I mean, man, did you see that the testimonial that Wade Chalice, Guinness Book? I mean, you would talk, number one, this guy is the number one wrestler documented on the planet. Go check out the testimonial. It's over on the Instagram. It's on Facebook. I think I got it up on YouTube. I'm going to be putting it up on the Scientific Wrestler website. What's up? We've got Timothy McGee, 5209. Y'all need a gym in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Let's go, man. Be the change you want to see in the world. Let's go. Scientificwrestler.com. Be an affiliate. You can set it up, man. We'll take good care of you. We'll train you up, show you how to make money, all that. Let's go. Scientificwrestler.com is the URL. Any other questions, guys? Any questions on business? Any questions on success in marriage? Man, I've been married 17 years and I work with my wife. I got 3 kids. Let's go. Let's do it, man. All right. I'm not getting no bites right now. You guys, I do appreciate the bites that we did get, though. I appreciate you guys, Timothy McGee and Wayne and Stellar Steven. All you guys. What's up, Cam? I see you on there, man. Punchy facey. See who else is on here. All right, guys. If there's nothing further, man, I'm going to give you about 3 seconds to type your questions, and then I'm going to bail. I got another meeting I got to get to. Building my empire, crushing my sales goals. Stellar Steven asked a question. How did you meet the wife, if you don't mind me asking? The wife. First of all, do not call them the wife. But I get you. So I met my wife. Her name is Sandra. Met her, man, it's got to be, well, we'll be married 17 this year. So it's 18 years, 18 or so since I met her. I was in LA. I had quite the lifestyle. I had a 2-bedroom apartment overlooking Venice Beach at the very end of South Venice Boulevard. It was awesome. I was 30. Let's see, this had to be 2004. Let's say 2005. So I was 32 years old, young man, 18 years ago. And the Dane MMA is asking me a question. 2:12 p.m. He wants to know what time it is here. It's 2 in the afternoon, a little bit past. So I was living in Venice, California, LA, right next to Santa Monica. I was at this time just starting Scientific Wrestling. It had been around for about a year and a half, 2 years. I was coaching wrestling at Santa Monica Wrestling Room, high school wrestling gym. At the same time that Ronda Rousey was going there, it was crazy. Coach Mark Black. It was Mark Schultz, Olympic gold medalist, who hooked me up with the coach there, Mark Black. Brilliant guy, such a nice human being, fantastic wrestling coach. Ended up running my club out of the Santa Monica High School Wrestling Rooms, Samo High, for it was probably about 3 years, I'm guessing. And I was working in finance. I was working, I believe, at IndyMac Bank. I was the manager of oversight for complex instruments. Had a freshly minted Master of Science in Financial Engineering. And I was trying to get to know, basically Carl Gotch was mentoring me at the time. And Carl insisted. So, when I tell you about you got to up your sales game and you got to learn how to sell things, I had to sell to Carl Gotch, the legend. He lived in Tampa, was widowed, kind of living a monk-like existence, did not have the internet, only had a phone. And I was talking to him every week. You guys could go over, listen to some of these phone calls from that era at carlgotch.com. That's my memorial site for Carl. Great human. Well, Stellar Steven, to your question, how did I meet my wife at this time? I'm sorry, I was setting the scene. I was coaching wrestling, starting Scientific Wrestling, really trying to get on the come up, learn, absorb as much as I could, train with all the number one guys. And so Carl was at the top of that list. Now, Carl had insisted, listen, he didn't want money, especially from individuals. He only charged like promotions to train, like New Japan or Pancrase or any of these groups. He would charge the group, but not individual athletes. And so he never charged me to teach me and to mentor me, but he would charge you in other ways. So he charged me with squats. I had to do Gotch's Bible in front of him. And one of the things that I had to do was he insisted that I adopt a pit bull terrier, right? He loves pit bull terriers. And so I was like, oh man, okay, I guess I got to get a pit bull terrier. And so at the time, my cousin, who is now a very successful actress, mostly commercials, but I think she's been on some TV shows like Parks and Rec. You might have seen, she has a really successful YouTube channel called I Mom So Hard. It's totally not my demographic, but it's like her and her friend do kind of comedy about being moms and they drink wine or something. I know, it's huge. She's actually toured and whatnot. But before she was famous, she lived with me. And I said, listen, you can live with me in this posh, cool place right off the beach, but I need you to basically be my personal assistant. And so I messaged her as soon as I got off the phone with Carl. I was like, hey, I need you to find me a pit bull. I want to adopt it. I'm not going to buy it from a breeder. I want to, rescue it. So she's like, okay, fine. So she randomly found me this rescue down, I think it was down by La Cienega, down a little south of where I was. So she and I jumped in the truck on a Saturday. I went down there, went to the dog rescue, and man, it was like magic. It was like magic. Because I'm in LA, I'm making well over six figures, way too much money probably for me at 32 years of age in LA. I mean, it was definitely like a Wolf of Wall Street kind of era for me, a lot of craziness. But I was burned out on dating all these dumb bimbos. It's like the road to excess leads to the palace of wisdom. And I started realizing like, the sex and all that is great. And, but I wanted something more. And I started realizing I wanted to be a dad. I wanted a family. And that was really important to me. It was something that I've lived my life that way. I now have 3 kids, been married 17 years almost. Anyway, so we roll in and I was burned out on these, on dating all these different people. And so one day I sat down with a pen and pad. This is relevant to my story, how I met my wife, Stephen. So please, I appreciate your patience. I sat down with a pen and pad and I wrote down everything I wanted. I mean, I'd been with all these very pretty women in LA and stuff, but it was just not, I felt kind of gross. Like, I'm like, this is just not doing it. I'm not meeting the kind of person that I want long term. She wasn't Mrs. Right. She was Mrs. Right now. And I wanted Mrs. Right. So anyway, I wrote it down and I was specific. I was like, I'd read a study that said the best marriages that last forever, the man is on average 7 years older than her. So I wrote, she's got to be 7 years younger than me. I grew up, my dad is Hispanic, my mom is white. So I'm used to that culture and I figured, if I'm going to be with somebody and raise kids, I want to be with somebody who's like me. So it's not complicated or there isn't clashes of values. So I said, she got to be 7 years younger. She got to be half white, half Hispanic like me. She got to have her own money. I was sick of these women liking me only for my money that I was generating. I couldn't tell if they actually liked me for me. So I had this list, dude. It was really a long list. Long story short, we go to adopt this dog, me and my cousin. I step out and I see this gorgeous woman with this gorgeous pit bull. So I go right up and because she had rescued the pit bull and was trying to adopt it out. So Steven says, the longer story, the better. Sorry, bro. I'm trying to be concise, but so there was this gorgeous Staffordshire Terrier, and I went up to her and I was like, "Oh, hey, what's up? Can I adopt the dog?" Started talking to her. I'm like, "Oh, hey, well, how do we do this? Can I get your number or whatever?" And I pull out my phone. And back in the day, this was when this T-Mobile Sidekick was the only real smartphone. It was the first smartphone that we had in the U.S. market. And it was very expensive. Only like Paris Hilton and celebrities had it. But I had it because I was making enough money. So I pull it out and I flip my little screen. And then she pulls out a T-Mobile Sidekick. And I was like, holy shit. Okay, so this really attractive young lady has her own money, has this high-end phone. And then she gets on. And back then, at this time, believe it or not, there wasn't even social media like we know it. There was MySpace, and it was so new. This was like when Friendster and MySpace were equal. You may not even have heard of Friendster. So, but on her screen, she was on MySpace. I was like, no way, you have a MySpace. So we connected over MySpace, stayed in contact. Now, she was traveling a lot, working with this software company that we both run now together. But she was traveling a lot because you couldn't install software remotely. You actually had to show up and do these installations. It's just how the world was back then. Long story short, we end up having a correspondence because she's always gone out of town. It was like a long distance type of thing for like 6 months. So I really developed an understanding and a friendship on top of the attraction. And then one day she was flying back into LA and she said, "Hey, can you pick me up at the airport?" And I said, "Yeah, I'd love to." And we've been together pretty much every day ever since then. So that's how it happened. I mean, it was like magic. I think part of it was the focus because I wrote down exactly what I wanted. It's like playing that slug bug game when you start looking for Volkswagen bugs when you're driving. All of a sudden, you see them everywhere. Well, once I had narrowed down exactly what I want, had I not narrowed it down, she could have come and go and passed by. I just would have been another pretty face. But as I knew what I wanted, I was like, this is it. I'm going to chase this girl. And so for 6 months, I had to stay on it and connected till I finally was able to pick her up from the airport. And then, man, it was done. It was like a done deal. We had a kid and married within a year after that. So, and been going strong for this long. So, and it's not, my parents were divorced by the time I was 4. So it's not like I had great models. I just, somebody to look up to. Now, I did pick the brain of my grandfather, who I think they were married something like, by the time they died, over 70 years, something crazy like that. And I did pick his brain a little bit. But anyway, so that's the whole thing. Punchy Facey, great story. Thank you, sir. Looking forward to seeing you and you guys at all the trainings that we got cooking, man. It's gonna be sick, dude. It's gonna be sick. It's gonna be sick. So so Carmen, are you guys still working out with that Olympian? Marco had that picture of you guys up. So anyway, let's see. Emperor Charlemagne says, love your advice outside of his perspective on women, Muslim influenced. What do you think of Andrew Tate's world analogies, Matrix, and the Matrix and business advice? Oh, Lord. This is absolutely relevant. Carmen says, see you soon. I'm pumped. Yes. All right. Good, dude. Good. So the Emperor Charlemagne says, love your advice outside of his perspective on women, Muslim influenced, which is really what I don't like the most about him. What do you think of Andrew Tate's world analogies, Matrix, and business advice? I don't get my business advice from Andrew Tate. I'm not big. I mean, I love the promise of crypto, but I think I certainly would love to see Bitcoin or any other kind of crypto take over and replace central banking. Love that. I'm 100% behind it. Would love to see it happen. Will do everything I can within my power to make that happen because I think central banking is truly awful. Look at what the Federal Reserve is doing to our economy now. They're just clueless. Well, I don't even know that they're clueless. Sometimes they're clueless. Other times they are straight just lame, like fucking up the whole economy. So I don't like crypto as an investment. Have I made money with it? Yeah, I made a lot of money with crypto. But I don't like it as an investment because it doesn't cash flow, right? So it's great as a store of value, maybe. I mean, as we've seen, it's very volatile in the last couple of years. So I know that I'm not totally familiar with Andrew Tate's stuff. I don't really watch him that much, but it's hard to miss him. Business advice, I mean, I don't know. I do see these little snippets. I do like how he is standing up in particular for young men in our culture. I think in the wake of all the Me Too, toxic masculinity, all that bullshit that was being pushed a couple of years ago, and it's still being pushed, but maybe backburnered. I do appreciate that because I have a daughter who's 16 and I have 2 sons, one who is 10 and the other who's 13. And I am concerned a little bit about the future of how young men are treated. They're pathologized. They're just typical boy behavior is now somehow an illness, a mental illness, and they have ADHD and they need to be put on some drug that's the equivalent of cocaine, Ritalin, the chemical equivalent. Anyway, I can appreciate that. I really don't like having a daughter and having a wife, and I don't really jive with his view on women. Some of it is aligned with him being a Muslim. Some of it is just I don't know. It's just douchey. I don't know, man. Like, so, the Matrix metaphor, dude. Yeah, it's not like it was his. There was a movie called The Matrix in 97. And, these ideas go back to Plato's idea of the cave. So he's cool. I like some of the stuff he's doing. I think, the whole thing that's got him in trouble with the Romanian police, if you're going to try to be some sort of volatile, incendiary character, it probably behooves you to not be like getting girls to work for your porn company. It's just it's just kind of gross. So Andrew Tate, man, so by the way, my daughter hates Andrew Tate, who's 16, and my son, my youngest son, he really likes Andrew Tate. And I'm in between trying to like parse out and have them understand, logically thinking, okay, let's not just throw the baby out with the bathwater. Let's instead stop arguing about personalities and start arguing about his ideas. And so we dissect the ideas. And I'll say that the guy's about 50-50. I am glad that my son is watching him, but I'm also glad that my daughter is reaming the shit out of him. So I don't know if that helps. Emperor Charlemagne says, I agree with your takes here. Thanks. Yeah. I mean, me personally, I think there's much better people to watch. You want to subscribe to somebody. Okay. Obviously I am 100% behind Grant Cardone. Not only do I endorse him, man, like I believe that he is a great guy. I think he's a fucking genius. And I just really would suggest as many people get involved. And that's why I got involved with him. I am certified by Grant to deliver all things 10X Grant Cardone related. By the way, new GrowthCon tickets just became available. If you want some, they will probably sell out today or tomorrow. DM me. I will send you the link. I mean, they've got all the way from Diamond, which is the tickets I'm buying that I bought. Flying on a private jet, by the way. I'm super excited. My first time on a private jet here in about a week or two. And then, so anyway, DM me and I can get you hooked up with tickets. But they will be gone today. This isn't like fake urgency. It's like, get going. So anyway, yeah, Grant Cardone, I would really recommend that you guys, he has so much free stuff out there, especially on YouTube. The other guy that I've been so impressed with is Alex Hormozy. Do you guys follow those two guys? In my opinion, that's where you should be putting a lot of they are so sharp and so smart. I like Russell Brunson too. I'm not actually a fan of ClickFunnels per se. It's cool. I mean, I'm not against it. I don't have any problems with it. I've tried to use it and it was a waste of money for me. I just never got into it. I have plenty of websites with landing pages and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, it's cool. But Hormozy and Cardone in particular, dude. And like I said, yeah, he's awesome. Carmen's saying Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson is another guy that I think is, I value a lot of what Jordan Peterson does. I value a lot of his arguments, and the stands that he's taken. He got in trouble simply because he wanted the freedom of speech to not have to use all this weird pronoun shit, which, I mean, it doesn't really matter, but it is kind of stupid and confusing, to be honest. Like, I don't know. It really, I mean, it's not a hill I want to die on, but like, I am a word nerd. Like, I love language. I love etymology. I love linguistics. And all of this dumb identity politics and pronoun shit probably does need to go. And I do value him for that. I'm a huge critic of psychology. We know that most of it, when there's something known as the replication crisis in the philosophy of science. And it's this idea that science, if it's published in a journal and you say it's going to be science, needs to be replicable. You got to be able to say, oh, this guy ran this experiment and I run this experiment. I get the same results. Psychology, I can't remember the exact statistic off the top of my head, but it's something like the vast majority of psychology is non-replicable. It's called the replication crisis. Dr. John Ioannidis, out of Stanford, epidemiologist at Stanford, professor and a statistician as well, just brilliant guy. He's kind of leading the charge on this whole issue. So as far as Peterson represents psychology, I'm just kind of like, yeah, dude, I don't need to hear your bullshit. Talking about anxiety or depression and all this. It's like, okay, man, these concepts are so ill-defined and it's just not backed by science. If you want to get into a guy who has passed away, and I gave his last radio interview, my hero in this field is Thomas Szasz, S-Z-A-S-Z, Thomas Szasz. Look him up, study his materials. Genius he was a rebel psychiatrist. I don't know if that helps. So I don't know if that helps you. Carmen, I like him. When I listened to this last thing on Joe Rogan with him, he gets too down like the religious metaphors for me. It just tunes me out. So I don't think he's bad. I think he's on net a good guy, though. I'm glad he's doing what he's doing. I'm really happy he's standing up in the way that he's standing up. In that regard, he's crucial. He's a very important person. His content doesn't really move me much, though. Emperor Charlemagne says, love Dr. Peterson and saw his rise from day one live right out of the University of Toronto. By the way, you don't have to address all my comments. Yeah, I'm not pressed for time. I do have to bail here in a minute, but if you're on, I will jump on. Stellar Stevens says, thoughts on, oh, wait, he has another one here. Said, wait, here we go. Let's go. I'm missing all these, dude. Emperor Charlemagne says, I think Tate is a huge net positive, but I don't agree with his cheating advice. It's gross for sure. I mean, yeah, I think he's got some value. So let's see here. Stellar Steven asks, thoughts on Carl Jung? Carl Jung was cool, man. He was cool. I love the ideas that he really layered a lot of mysticism and a lot of mythology into his understanding of the human psyche. And I really actually appreciate that. He went kind of the opposite way of all these fake, using inkhorn terms that sound sciencey, but actually are bullshit. They're just used to give you an air of like, but there's no real science. It just sounds clinical, but it's bullshit. And I appreciate that he moved the study of the mind into like spirit and these other realms. Yeah. So I think Jung is a very interesting character to read, right? So Carmen says, just find him to be a smart, articulate dude. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And him standing up for what is right, and particularly for free speech and freedom of expression, I am 100% in support of Jordan Peterson on that front. 100%. So Stellar Steven, you work at software engineering or another field? I mean, well, I don't have a job. I'm an owner. So I'm an owner and investor. And what that means, and I am an entrepreneur. So I do own businesses. That's what I mean when I say I'm an investor. So I have a master's degree in financial engineering, right? I got that in 2002 at the University of Colorado, or at Golden Gate University, which is the oldest university in private school in California. It's a mix of software engineering. I did have to learn to code. Thank God. I hated it. I'm lucky to have passed. Then it also has a strong mathematics curriculum, particularly in statistics and stochastic calculus, which is just the calculus of random variables. And then obviously very deeply steeped in financial instruments and their design, in particular derivatives like options, forwards, futures, swaps, that kind of thing. That's my degree. I've worked in the past. I did work in investment banking, mortgage banking, and software for quite a number of years. Then in 2006, I quit it all and decided to live by my wits as an entrepreneur. And so, I founded a reverse mortgage consultancy. My wife and I ended up kind of taking over, like the owner basically retired. He's still in the company, but he retired by and large, and we took over the company. It's a software company. And then, of course, Scientific Wrestling, the Mace Bell, that kind of stuff. Hope that answered your question. Stellar Stevens says, thanks. Yeah, so, all right, guys. This has gone on twice as long as I had aimed, but that was just because of the Q&A. I'm very grateful for you guys. I'm glad all you guys popped in. I hope it was useful. And as ever, I will be here tomorrow, another No1 podcast. Today, I really just want you guys to understand. You can go back and rewatch this. The basics of what you're going to need if you want to crush your sales goals and really dominate your market. Appreciate